Tired of searching for podcasts? Try Storio, the only app you need to discover and follow podcasts from across the world. Get curated podcasts and playlists every day and listen to what your friends recommend. Share what you love and find what they love. Check us out on storivoyage.com/boom. Download on App Store or Play Store.
Storio. This 24-year-old is a sensation in the podcast industry in India. A year and a half back, he started his podcast all of his own and now helps people turn their vision into reality by coaching and consulting them to start their own podcast. As per Google, he is the first podcast coach and consultant that India has today. I was a little curious and wanted to know how did he achieve all this in just a year and a half time. So I had a tete-a-tete with him to know all about it. Let's hear it, what he has to say. This is Priyadarshini Bare, your host for the show Tutelage, where we have stories, talks and interviews of known and not very known but very successful people in their industry, their journey and the movement of triumph. So any guesses about my guest for today? He is the host for the podcast The Inspiring Talk, Bijay Gautam. Very happy and warm welcome to you, Bijay. I'm so glad to have you here today.
Thanks, Priyadarshini. Thank you so much for having me here. I'm really excited for being guest on your show.
Well, the feeling is mutual. My first question is you did your bachelor's in pharmaceuticals, okay, and you're still working, and then how did this podcasting, started? How did it happen to you?
So there's this quite interesting story behind the scenes, because I have been a student of self-help and personal development myself for 5 or 6 years now. This happened. I was exposed to this whole new world of personal development, inspiration and self-help when I was in second year of my college. And after that, I have been reading a lot of self-help books, and I have been going to a lot of seminars and conferences and a lot of these events like that. And I was also listening to these audios. They were from Robin Sharma and one of the bloggers that I followed at that point in time called Steve Pablina. So these guys used to put out a lot of audio contents, and I was listening to them, but I didn't knew that they were called podcasts at that point in time. And it was back in, I think, 2012 or 2013. And then Sorry. Yeah. And I was listening to these audios, and I loved what I was, hearing on those audios. And in 2015, I attended a 5 days program with Brigadier Sushil Vasin. And that was a kind of program that I came back home with a lot of action items on what I want to do to share the insights or the knowledge that I have gained in the past 5 years, and also learn more and more from successful people so that I can help my listeners. Also, I can decode or essentially find the success habits and how they think, basically tapping into their mindset. And the initial idea was to start a YouTube channel where I will be doing the interviews with successful and inspiring personalities. But at that point in time, when I still have a days off, as you rightly mentioned, it looked for me to start a YouTube channel as a quite demanding, because it takes a lot of work, and you also need, you have to put together a kind of team if you are doing a interview kind of thing on YouTube. So I thought, and then I found about this podcasting, and it was very, very fascinating for me to see how powerful this medium was and how easy to execute it. And it was something that I could easily manage to start a podcast. So that's how I got into podcasting. And the more I learned about podcasting, the more I did, I really started enjoying this medium. And, and the journey has been so amazing so far.
That's really great. And how your 5 days of training could inspire you so much is a big question. Yeah, that's very nice to know. And how did you figure out the name, The Inspiring Talk?
Oh, again, like I wanted to have something, with success on it. So I tried all sort of name, every possible combination out there, the success stories, the success GAN, and, a lot of other combinations. And one of those things that I wanted was to start a website by the same name. So, I had listed down 20 to 30 names for my podcast with a lot of a combination with words such as success and inspiring and inspiration and all of that. And but there was no domain name available for any of those. And then this thing, this Inspiring Talk, came out as is the one that has a domain name available. And also I pretty much liked this name, and I asked with a couple of people whom I knew could really give their feedback about how the name was. And also the one of those things that I also teach to my students in my podcast coaching program is go and share that name with the people around you and see their reaction for the first time that you share about the name. If the first response or the first meaning that they come out with about the name is something that is relevant to what you are trying to do, and that name is good to go. So when I said, hey, what do you understand when I say The Inspiring Talk? And they said, it has got something to do with inspiration. And I said, that's what I'm going to do with my podcast. So this name is pretty cool. So that's how I came with this name for my podcast.
Oh, that's a really nice story. So non-availability of the domain name gave birth to the podcast name, The Inspiring Talk.
Yeah, otherwise it would have been something such as The Success Stories or Success Kahani. I don't know.
Okay. That's interesting.
Yeah.
All right. So what was your biggest, hurdle? Because I know you told me while talking that you did it all yourself without taking anyone's help. You did it all of yourself. So I'm sure there would be a story behind that also, because doing it all alone is not that easy.
Yeah, absolutely. So when I started out, there were not so many podcasts in India as well, number one. Number two, I was on a very tight budget to take any of these podcast coaching or consulting program from the people in US and Europe, because I have to pay in dollars, which I was not. I didn't have that amount of money to pay to those people. And then the other option was to turn to Google and figure things yourself. But definitely it takes a lot of time. And today everything is available on Google, right? You can learn almost anything from YouTube. But the only thing where mentors and coaches come into play is they just certain the time or the amount of time that you take, right? Whether you spend time or whether you spend money, the choice is yours. But at that point in time, I had time but no money to spend on making this process faster. So I think as a result of that, the overall podcast launch date was delayed by 2 weeks. And I was talking about this to you earlier as well. Yes. About how I delayed launch of my podcast by 2 weeks just because I couldn't figure out how to record interviews over Skype, because I went to Google and there are 100 different answers from 100 different perspectives, and you just don't know which is the right way or which is the wrong way and what's going to work for you. And also like setting up the equipment, what kind of equipment do I need? And I still have a recorder that I have purchased, which I have never ever used, but still out there I purchased it, but I have never used that. So I think those were some of the issues in terms of technical understanding at the point in time when I started out. Other than that, like growing the listenership is one of those challenges every podcaster face out there, because there are not so many podcast listeners in India. Right now, there are a lot of them. A lot of traction is being generated in podcasting space. A lot of people now know about podcasting, but it's growing. But that is another thing that every podcaster has to go through. And also, there is some interesting number in podcasting space, which is episode number 7. So episode number 7 is where, people say after producing 7 episodes, there are high chances that people or the podcasters are, gonna stop produce the episode, which is called pod fading. So the reasons for that is, number one, they don't see, the number of people listening to their podcast as much they wanted to, because a lot of work goes behind producing every single episode of your podcast. And when you see, not so many people are listening to your podcast, then that is something that you don't want, because, hey, I'm putting a lot of work and, only 50%, 50 people are listening to my podcast, only 100 of them are downloading, and it's so frustrating to see that. And I also have that similar kind of thing. And then at the 7th episode, after doing 7th episode, I don't know why this number is so magic, but I think, after doing for 2 months, everybody wants to have some tangible result in front of them. But when you don't have that, then you want to stop, or maybe, stop doing, and you think like it's kind of not working. I think I should stop doing and all that. And that happened to me as well. So I produced 7 episodes and interviews. And even if you go and look at my episodes, then you will see there are a couple of weeks gap after producing 7th episode. And I stopped like writing email to guests, and I stopped finding people because, I didn't think, I was not thinking of giving up everything, but I was just, demotivated at that point in time. And all of a sudden, on the 3rd week, I have not released 2 episodes for 2 Mondays. And on the 3rd Monday, I get a message from one of my listeners saying, hey, I have been waiting for your episode, and it's been 2 weeks that, you haven't released any episodes. When's the new episode gonna come? Oh my God, that was the kind of moment, that was the one guy out there who was listening to me, right? And who reached out to me and who was expecting episode. And after I saw that message, I went to send, emails to 10 people, hey, would you be guest on my podcast? And then immediately I started, creating episodes. So I think, these are some of the challenges or hurdles that every podcaster has to overcome.
A good input. So all your listeners out there, keep doing it until you get that one listener for you. I think that's a takeaway.
Yeah, I think even if you are, yeah, absolutely. Even if you have 50 people or maybe 20 people listening to you, the way to put this is, imagine that you are speaking in front of 20 people in a hall every single week. Isn't that motivating enough for you to go every week in a hall or in a room of 20 people? So, even if that's 20 people listening to your podcast, look at that way. And obviously, you will find those people who will come, in your life and will inspire you. Hey, where's the episode? And there are gonna people who are gonna say, hey, I really enjoyed listening to that episode and interview. So that's pretty interesting.
True. Like for YouTubers, you have your comments and your their feedback. Similarly here also, their reviews and comments do motivate the podcaster, do motivate the creator.
Absolutely.
I agree. That's a very nice input. I know there are so many podcasters out there where, looking out for little motivation. At the same time, the consistency is a question because, sometimes they don't get their audience and they just lose out in between. So, yeah, that's a very good takeaway there. So, Vijay, how is your day like? What is a day like in Vijay's life? I think a lot of people would want to know because you have been inspiring thousands of people now. So I think a lot of people would want to know, how do you spend the entire day?
So it's kind of a real mess at this point in time because I have a day job which is quite demanding. I work as a research scientist for a pharma giant. So when you say research, that means that has got no upper limit on when you can leave office because you cannot leave until you finish your experiment. So having that demanding job, and also I do have my own podcast where I release 2 episodes every week. That is a lot of work. And I do have a podcast coaching and consulting going on. So there is a podcast coaching batch that's going on, and also there are consulting clients whom I'm working with on one-on-one basis. So it's a total mess at this point in time. But on any given day, I try to I have found by interviewing these people on my own podcast itself, the value and the power of morning ritual. So I try to imbibe or build in a very strong morning ritual, but I won't say like all of the activities that I'm going to mention right now are something that I do 5 out of 5 activities every day, but even if I am able to do 3 or 4 of them in any particular day, I think that would be a great start for my morning. So when I wake up, the first thing is I grab a journal, which is very, very powerful. So journal, I also did an episode on the journaling itself on my own podcast, and so journaling, I put down, I take this journal, which I got from Amazon, and I just, it is a template kind of thing. So the first thing on that journal is gratitude. So I count my blessings and what I'm grateful for on that particular day. And after that, I do reconnect or revisit my goals every single day. The simple act of writing your goals every single morning is very powerful. It just helps you connect with your goals and vision and dream, and you know what you need to do today to get a step closer to that dream. And after that, there is a small segment where I have to write down the 5 or 7 tasks that I need to accomplish that day to make that day great. So this is something that I do as like 10 minutes or maybe less than 10 minutes. It takes me around 5 to 10 minutes, somewhere from 5 to 10 minutes to complete this journaling. And after that, I do a quick 10 minutes of meditation. Again, there is this app called Insight Timer. This is, again, an app that was recommended by one of my guests for my podcast. And this is a beautiful meditation app. So I do 5 to 10 minutes meditation. That depends on the time. And after that, I just move for 10 to 15 minutes. And I try to, go through keep aside 10 to 15 minutes or 20 minutes of time to read some book. So right now I'm reading a book called Story Sewing by Sam Cawthon. So, this is pretty much that I do. And after I do this in the morning, then I, take on the project or the work that I need to complete on that, whether that's recording my own episode or scripting the episode, or maybe, working to distribute the podcast for my clients, or maybe taking a coaching call. And after that, I do have a office, and in the evening, then my job starts from 7 in the evening till 1 or 2 in the morning. So so this is how you have to work when you have 2 things going on at the same point in time. So yeah, this is pretty much how my schedule looks like at this point in time.
Oh, so how many hours do you work? It's like you do everything in the morning, then you work in the night?
Yeah, you have to, because you don't have time, right? Because I have taken more than I could even take on my plate at this point in time. But yeah, when you have taken something, then you have to deliver, and I would love to deliver things in the time. So
I know, hats off to you. Hell lot of work. You are 25.
Yeah, it's a lot of work.
Is it?
Yeah.
You're 25?
Yeah, I'm just 24. Yeah.
24. Oh my God. You're 24 and you are doing, coaching, mentoring, having your own podcast with 2 releases every week, and you do your daily job.
Yeah, that's quite, that's total mess, but I do not get to complete my morning ritual every single day, but journaling is something that I don't miss. I would love to write every single morning, because I have found this very, very powerful habit that I would suggest each of your listeners should implement as well. Just, pull out a blank paper and start writing down on that paper every single morning. So that's just so powerful. Yeah.
I know, I agree to you, because I started doing it, but after every 3rd, 4th day, then I stop it. Something happened in the morning and then I just skip it. So how do you manage to do it on a daily basis without stop in between? Because all these good habits, are very difficult to inculcate.
True. So one of those things is I had this, I used to do the similar kind of journaling where I just pull out the white paper and just, write whenever I wanted to write. And when you get something like the journal that I have right now, which already has got a template on it, and also put it very close to your bed. So whenever you open your eyes, the first thing that you do is pull out the journal from your, bedside table, and then just start writing on that. Just open that and just look at that, what you have written on the previous day. And, also similarly, before going to bed, I do reflection on the same journal. There is a segment where, you can rate yourself on what has been your day like. So there are actually 3 different segments where you can rate yourself in terms of contribution, how much contribution you were able to make on that particular day, and how happy you were on that day, and how productive was the day for you, or the growth, how, what has been the growth like on that particular day. So you have to rate yourself on the scale of 10, and also you will write down the lesson that you have learned on that particular day. So this is something that I do before going to bed every single day, because it is the same journal with this, it has got a template on it. So I think getting a journal with a template, and also putting it close to your bedside and making it a ritual. So, for the first 7 or 10 days, just do it. Like maybe you can put a reminder, or maybe you can just do it for the 10 days, and you will know by yourself that, hey, I need to do it now. So I think that's how you can build the habit.
Reflection is also a very powerful habit. I did it for a few days when I was in a camp, last month. But then again, once I was back, it's all gone with the camp.
Yeah.
So, yeah. Would you mind telling us this journal or the link, if you can, we can share it with our listeners? I think that will be a great help for all of us.
Yeah, absolutely. Maybe you can link up the link of the episode that I have done on the journaling itself. I think it's the episode 50 or maybe 51 on my podcast. So maybe you can link up that episode. On that episode, I have linked up all the different form of journals, and how people can actually journal, and what are the different steps to journal, and why you need to journal as well. So I have done a detailed episode on journaling.
Sure. I think that will be a great add-on to this. Yeah, I will, probably take that from there and add in here.
Absolutely. Yeah.
All right. Great. So moving on, so your journey is like now 2 years starting your podcast? Am I right?
No, it's just been a year. I celebrated
Just a
a
year.
1-year anniversary in August.
Oh, okay. Just a year, and you are doing an amazing job, I must say. So tell us your, greatest triumph. Whereas, you thought, okay, this is the moment I have been working for.
Oh, I think I'm yet to reach there, but I think on the other hand, that there is another way to look at that. Is every single day, I think this is the kind of moment that I wanted to, live for. My mom is like, you are working real hard and won't even sleep, and go take some sleep. And I'm like, oh, I'm so loving this, Now I recall the days when I had to prepare for my exams, and I was the kind of guy who have never, ever, stayed awake after 11 or maybe 12 in the night, and now I just don't even realize it's already 1 or maybe 2 or 3 in the morning, just because, when you do something that you are really passionate about and do something that you really love, I think every single day is a triumph for you, because you just know that you are moving in the right direction, and you know that you are doing it for the good, right? To help people, for yourself, for your own growth. So I think every single moment, if you look at it that way, is a triumph for me, I would say.
How many hours do you sleep? 3, 4, 5?
I think I try to sleep 5 hours.
I agree. When you are backed up by your parents, that you are doing a great job, nothing can be better than that kind of a comment. I think that.
Oh, there's a reason for that, because my parents wanted me to go to US for my higher education, and I was preparing, and I was taking these classes for my examination. I was preparing for GRE, and I had already taken TOEFL, and I was like, man, I just don't want to go and spend another 2 years in US doing pharmacy, which I really don't enjoy doing.
Okay.
And there was this constant battle going on, which was not something kind of fight or something like that, but something that always kept happening, mostly with my dad. He was like, hey, why are you wasting your time? Go ahead and go abroad and get some education over there, and then you can get a better job and all that. And I was like, man, I just don't want to spend or waste another 2 years learning something that I don't like, and after that going in a job into pharmacy, which again is something that I don't love. So I told him, hey, Dad, give me 1 year of my time, and if you can see something is happening, or if I can make something out of this, then that's fine. Other than that, I'll sort everything down and I'll get go back to preparation, and I'll just fly to US for my higher education, and I think that's the reason they say, like, we told you to take an easier life, go fly to US and take a comfortable job over there, and now you are working hard. And I said, I am much more happier like doing this rather than and doing something that I wouldn't have enjoyed, or I think something that I wouldn't have loved. So I think that's the reason they bring this up.
Yeah, that's why I think, you found your true calling, and they say if you do something that you love, it doesn't look like that you're working.
Yeah, true.
But then it's very difficult for people to figure out what is that they want in their life. So do you
actually, I
feel
think
you have a code to decode it?
No, I think one thing was for sure for me was I had to do something that has got to do with speaking or talking, because I have always been this guy who loved talking as a kid. So I have always been that kid, and I even considered going to media, but somehow I didn't went into studying media for my bachelor or something like that. But I met this man yesterday who wants her 13 years old daughter to get into podcasting because she has shown the interest. And when I was having conversation with him, I realized I think this is the way how people can find the true calling or the kind of passion for themselves. So the idea here is throwing yourself into as many different things possible, because you just can't know by doing nothing what you are passionate about, right? So today, if you want to do X, then throw yourself into X, or see if it is for you for maybe a week or maybe month or maybe 2 months. And if you just feel, okay, this is not for me, then come out of that and start something else. But just don't stop this quest of finding something for yourself, whether this is for me or not, right? The more you get into this and throw yourself into as many things as possible, unless and until you find something that you think, yeah, this is my aha moment. This is something that I really want to do. Keep exploring. Just don't stop, because I think that's the problem with a lot of us. If we fail at something, if we think something is not for us, then we, build into our mindset that we cannot do something. I mean, this is not for me. I think I have to settle down for the job that I have, or maybe settle down for the course that I'm doing or education that I'm taking right now, because I can't see any options out there. So I think this is how people can prepare themselves to find their true calling or passion or whatever they may like to do, right?
Yes, I think that is a biggest takeaway, wherein you can put yourself in everything possible and then figure out what works best for you. Isn't it?
Yeah, absolutely. Just just test everything. Like, hey, I mean, I'm testing this, I'm testing that, and you will find, oh, this is for me. I'm really enjoying doing this.
Yes. I think that is a key to your success, that you figured out what is that you're calling and you are behind it. Be the world, say whatever.
Yeah, true.
Great. Moving on, who is your role model? Do you have any role model as such?
Oh, I think I do not love idolizing someone as a role model and just following all of them. But what I love is having mentors whom I can learn from. And when I say mentors, is not something that you can have only one mentor, you can have multiple of them. So I do have like a couple of mentors on the different areas. So like someone who is helping me in terms of growing my podcast, someone who is helping me in terms of moving in the direction or maybe growing my business. So, you can have multiple or different set of people for the different segment of your life. So I do have a lot of people who has helped me and who has come in my life in the right time, so that I can learn from them and also take the right direction in my life. So I think having a mentor is very, very crucial to shape your life and get in the right direction.
Why to have one particular person to follow on, why not to have
because everyone has got their own pros and cons, right? Nobody is perfect, nothing called is perfect, but there is something that you can learn from every individual. So if you want to write a book, then go to someone who has already published a book and make him his mentor. If you want to get fit, then go and find someone who can help you get fit, right? Because there is no one person who has accomplished everything and could help you with everything, because nobody has got all answers for you. You have to find your own answers and find the person who can help you find those answers in different areas of your life.
That is a very, bang on answer on, if you have to suggest a book or a movie to my listeners, what would that one book would be or one movie would be that they must watch or read in their lifetime?
Yeah, a lot of them, but I think 7 Habits of Highly Effective People would be one of those books that I would recommend if someone is just getting started with personal help or self-development journey, because that book is so powerful, and I think that would be the one.
Mm-hmm. Okay, so I think this book by Stephen Covey is the book that you recommend to everyone.
Absolutely, yeah.
Okay, great. Okay, so before we wrap up, do you want to say one liner or one message that you want to give to my listeners?
Yeah, so this is something that I always say to people is, if you have got capability or potential within yourself to become Messi, don't try becoming Albert Einstein. The meaning of that is because everybody is trying to become, good at their education or trying to mug things up and being seen as a topper, like mostly students, if we look at that way. But they don't realize they have the potential to become the football superstar or maybe cricket superstar, right? So just don't try to be Einstein when you have potential to become Messi or maybe Ronaldo or maybe Sachin, right? So that would be my message. So just figure out what you are best at and go all in on it.
Yeah, that is going to be the liner, right? That figure out what you want instead of figuring out what this person was, that person was, and how can I follow that person. Taking everything from everyone and following your own path is, figuring out your own path is the way to do it. All right, I think that is all I had for you, Bijay. Thank you so much for your time and giving us so many inputs to work and how one can, put their efforts to get whatever they want.
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you so much for having me here. I really enjoy having this discussion.
So that was Vijay Gautam for you with a message: throw yourself into everything possible to figure out what you can fall in love for. And yeah, why become Albert Einstein when you can become Messi? Thank you so much for joining me in this episode. I would love you to subscribe and share this episode with your friends, family, and loved ones, and also write it to me about what is your takeaway from this episode on my Insta and Facebook at Priyadarshini Barik. You can find all the details in the show notes as well. All you have to do is type in my name, priyadarshinibarik.com, go to the podcast section, and then you have it all. You can listen to me on Apple Podcast, Castbox, Stitcher, Google Podcast, or wherever you listen to your podcast from. And while you're listening, you can tag me as well so that I know you're listening to me. That's all I have for you today, and I will see you soon.